Today we're going to be talking about products used in mainline pipeline construction. Weiler offers several products during the welding process to be used before, during, and after the welding process. But no matter which products we use, the idea is to have a clean surface to ensure a quality weld. Okay, let's get started. Typically, when the pipe is delivered to the job site, it has this bevel that's already been machined into it. To prepare for cleaning the weld, we need to ensure that any rust that has been created is removed. So basically we have this bevel right here, and then we need to also create or shore up what is called the land, or the flat portion of this bevel. And we can do that with one of our grinding wheel products. Creating that land actually helps space out the product when it's being aligned and helps ensure an accurate opening for any weldment. Okay, once the land has been addressed, we'll need to clean up the bevel. Again, you want to have a clean surface prior to welding. There's several different ways to do that depending on the amount of rust or the user's preference. In this case, if there was just a light amount of rust on the bevel, and you're still going to have this little bit of a burr that was created when we touched up the land, a wire brush is an ideal tool for that. It will clean off light surface rust without removing any of the base material. But what we want to do is clean the OD of the bevel and also the ID of the pipe. I'll show you how. Okay, if there's a bit more surface rust on the bevel than just the light rust will be taken off with the wire brush. But if there's a little more rust or corrosion or some actual pits inside of that bevel, it would be better to use a product like our flap disc for cleaning that bevel. Again, we want to get off that heavy surface rust and some of the pits so that we have a nice clean surface prior to welding. And I'm going to show you how we use a flap disc to accomplish that. Once the bevel end has been prepared, it's been cleaned, the land has been prepared, it's time to join the pipe together. So we'll take two bevel ends and have the pipe aligned together with the proper gap or spacing aligned in between. And once it's set up, the welder will come in and place these small tacks just to hold the pipe in its proper position prior to welding the root pass. Okay, once the root pass has been laid down, we need to ensure that there's been a 100% penetration of that weld. To get onto the next pass, or the hot pass, we want to take a grinding wheel and run it right down that root pass to create a U shape in the bottom of that weld. That way we can ensure that the next pass has full penetration on both the bottom and the sides of that bevel. We can do that with an 1/8 inch grinding wheel, and again just run it right down the root pass, and we want to do this as quickly as possible to maintain a high heat in the weld, preparing for the next part of the process, which is the hot pass. The hot pass has been completely welded and prepped for the next series of weld passes. These will be our multi-level passes or filler passes to fill up the V groove in this pipe bevel. Okay, so for each weldment layer that's laid down, we again need to take a wire brush and clean off any of the weld slag that's been pushed to the surface, again to prepare a clean surface for the next weldment layer. We can do that with a narrow face wire brush, or as the V groove gets wider, especially with larger diameter pipe, we can take a wider face or filler pass type brush to clean a wider surface area more easily. The very last pass in the welding process for pipe is called the cap pass. When this cap pass has finally been welded, last part of that application, it should be cleaned again with a wire brush to remove any slag that would occur on the top. After the entire welding process is complete and the welds have been x-rayed and it passes inspection, generally a day or two later, a different coating crew will want to come by and seal, if you will, the weldment inside of this epoxy coating. It's a two-part epoxy coating. It gets stirred and mixed together, and it needs to get brushed on. And a large volume of these items are used to apply the epoxy to fill up the weld area and coat it, and then it gets thrown away. So these are used by the millions for mainline pipeline construction.